When an industrial business is looking to locate in an area in southern New Hampshire, we're in competition with other communities to say, you know what, here's what Londonderry has to offer. We have a well-educated workforce. We have available land. We have available infrastructure such as roadways, such as sewer, water, gas, cable, fiber optics, those things that are attractive to businesses in New Hampshire. And when they compare that to other communities, they're going to look at that and say, boy, yeah, there is an advantage to locate in Londonderry because of these things, and also its location to Massachusetts border as well as Manchester and all those major labor markets. Therefore, we tend to come to the top 5% of selections when it comes to locating in southern New Hampshire. The responsibilities of the Planning and Economic Development Office are many. One of our primary responsibilities is to help the Planning Board achieve the goals identified in the master plan. And those goals are boiled down into zoning ordinances. Those are boiled down into the site plan and subdivision regulations. Those are boiled down into the capital improvements program. Those are the means by which we carry those forth and make sure that the goals of the master plan are carried out through those means. The master plan, really in layman's terms, is a blueprint of what Londonderry wants to be in the future, what the citizens of Londonderry think ought to be preserved, ought to be developed, ought to be improved in the future over the next 5, 10, 15 years.
In a community like Londonderry, where we are experiencing growth, not only residential but commercial, industrial, town opinions and politics change, the desire of residents change, so it's important to, on a regular basis, get the feeling of the community, do a master plan, use the input of the public to determine what basically the town wants to see itself in the future.
There's a project that the Department of Transportation is proposing on a state level, statewide level, and that is to bring an access road from E.F. Everett Turnpike over the Merrimack River into the airport area. When it does that, it's going to cut through the northwest section of Londonderry. What that will do is open up about 1,000 acres of industrial land for Londonderry to develop. In our master plan, we had looked at that area to how best to develop that for job growth and for tax revenue. That is what a master plan can do for us.
That's really the primary focus of planning. The secondary part of that is actually the day-to-day development review portion of the department, which is coordinating with all the different parts of town, the engineering department, to make sure that all site plans and subdivisions meet the standards and requirements that Londonderry has set forth in its ordinances and regulations.
The subdivision site plan review process, that probably consumes probably the majority of our time in the office, and I should say mostly the time of my assistant planner, Tim Thompson. And what the process entails is, and I'll take a site plan for an example. There is a Dunkin' Donuts being constructed off of Route 28 near Exit 5 in Londonderry. First, they have a concept of what they want to do, and typically they will meet with staff to describe the size of the building and the location of the building, how they propose to enter the site, and the amenities, the landscaping and the lighting, and those types of things. The design review stage is the next step where they actually go out and do the engineering necessary. They do the survey of the site, the engineering, the siting of the building, the parking layout, the drainage, the traffic reports. All those things are done at that design review phase. So once all that stuff is completed and submitted to my office, then we can start the review process.
The first part is what we call pre-application. That allows an applicant or a developer to come in, submit plans, get feedback from the 12 different boards, commissions, and departments of the town that make up our design review committee. Those comments, along with the comments of our engineering review consultant that we retain, are then sent back to the applicant so they can revise their plans. That process can take anywhere from a month to 3 months, depending upon the complexity of the project. The second phase of subdivision and site plan review is the formal application process. When you get to that point, the assumption is that you've addressed all the items from the checklist in our regulations, you have all of your state and federal permits in hand, and then it's ready for the planning board to start a public hearing. The first part of that is the planning board has to accept an application as complete. Essentially, if you meet all the requirements of the checklist and have all your permits, the board will accept jurisdiction on the plan, open up a public hearing, and then by state law, within 65 days, the planning board has to make a decision on the project.
There's always obstacles out there, and you know, we seem to overcome those issues. And one of the major ways that we overcome a lot of issues is being honest and upfront from the beginning. Londonderry has a very high standard of what it holds staff to and what it holds developers to.
The work I do is visualized in maps, so that when people see products from the GIS department, what they see are mapped products that might come before the town council during a public presentation, or might be reviewed by staff and members of the town at a public meeting in one of our town meeting rooms. The planning department is a little bit underutilized in the sense that we have scads and reams of information that people need. If anybody's looking for boundary information for their lots, we have the tools to find it. We have most subdivisions on record in our department files. The direction that municipalities are going is putting their information on the web via an IMS. And what that means is that users at home will have access to the same information that I use on a daily basis. They'll be able to go into LondonderryNH.org, click into our IMS site, and then be able to toggle on and off the layers, and then do some simple queries, do some distance measurements to see how far their building is from the mapped boundary, some buffer analysis to get a listing of all the neighbors, to do some area calculations. You can locate stone walls, and so the aerial photos we have are state of the art. It's of a quality that you can take measurements off of. You can do a setback from the street, and then to do some very simple overlay analysis to look at their property, look at the information we have, and generate some simple maps. Previously, before having a GIS program, we would have had to go outsource to consultants to get the same sort of maps. We've generated a build-out analysis that looks at the remaining areas in town that are vacant and tries to calculate how much development could occur in those areas. An individual would come into town hall looking to develop a piece of property, and there are certain things they need to know about that property. They need to know where the wetlands are, if they're in a floodplain, what sort of road they're on, what the zoning is for that property. Before the town had a GIS, the individual would have had to go into the drawers, open up the zoning map, locate their property, find out what zone they were in. They would then put that map back, go and open another drawer, open the floodplain maps, look for their property. They would close the drawer, open another set of maps, look at the wetlands, all in the space of maybe half an hour, an hour's worth of time, to locate those little bits of information about a property. The GIS enables us to call up all that information at once on screen at the same time.